Hey guys, it's Sun for Games, and we are back for E3 2017. EA has officially kicked it off with their presentation. E3 2017 presentation. I think it had a name. I can't remember. I checked it out. Wasn't the most exciting, but I didn't really expect it to be. But let's get into. I want to go over like my impressions of the presentation, what happened, what we saw, and I'm just gonna like jump right into it. I've got bullet points of all the things I jotted down as it was going off. And I'm just going to kind of run down the list. So they open it up right away talking about Battlefront, which was actually what they closed with. But they kick it off saying, like, we've got Battlefront coming. We're going to show you like 30 minutes. And it was a long presentation of Battlefront 2 gameplay. So I'm going to try and keep this quick. I can already see myself derailing. But they just kind of quickly acknowledged, like, look, we got a lot of positive feedback. They have to say that. But they did. You know, Battlefront was well received. It was a beautiful game. It was very fun. It was just a little shallow. And then this guy was like, and some constructive feedback, some not so positive feedback on Battlefront, because a lot of people thought that a lot of features from the Battlefront games of old were missing. I'm not going to go into all that. Everybody knows the whole story. It was 2 years ago. But, so they acknowledge that and then they kind of move on. Battlefield 1, they jump into Battlefield 1, which is interesting because Battlefield 1 is an existing game. But they were showing off some of the DLC that's coming out, which looks cool. But the way they kind of presented Battlefield 1 was with a bunch of clips of various YouTubers, content creators, Twitch streamers, different clips from like them kind of doing their thing, which I actually thought was interesting, and it sort of set the whole tone for the rest of their presentation. They had a lot of interaction with content creators and Twitch streamers, none that I recognize, but I don't really follow that kind of group anyway, so I wasn't that surprised. An interesting shift. I'll be curious to see if all of the other publishers and the Microsoft, Sony kind of also get into this, because it could be an incredible shift that I personally am like selfishly super excited about, because it's a change in direction for like the publishers admitting during an event as big as E3 that during their presentation they want these personalities involved, because they know that these personalities are what is driving a lot of feedback, a lot of interaction, a lot of engagement in the community for their games. And the fact that they're acknowledging that and getting into it is a great sign for content creators that, being taken more seriously after so many years of like, slowly being introduced to these kind of events. If this has happened before, where like YouTubers and Twitch streamers have been up on stage and at these events for E3, that's great. I don't remember noticing it. Anyways, I was pumped about that. But it was a cool little presentation. It was Battlefield 1. They had a lot of cool Battlefield 1 clips of people doing awesome Battlefield stuff. I mean, it was Battlefield. So then they show that, was it SAR, name of the SAR? Something like that. DLC is coming out. It's very snowy. Looks badass. I mean, if you like Battlefield 1, you'll be excited for this. Then they jumped into a bunch of their sports stuff, and they had a bit of a little run-through video of like their FIFA, Madden, all the EA sports games, like esports crowd, and a lot of those events, and there was some competition there. They tried to like generate some hype for the esports situation for like the actual sports, gaming sports. I don't know how esports of esports. Does that make any sense? And it was all right, but you could tell the crowd wasn't really feeling it. They're like, okay. All right, neat EA, thank you. But, so, whatever. So they moved on. FIFA 18, they kind of showed off. I don't really have a huge interest in FIFA, but they showed some movement mapping with Ronaldo. And they're introducing a story mode to FIFA 15, or FIFA 18, which kind of led into the rest of the presentation a little bit. It looks like a cool story mode. If you like the other FIFAs, I can't imagine you wouldn't like this one. So that's when they brought in to this guy, Just W. I wrote down W. I couldn't remember his last name. Who they had some problems with the teleprompter, but they figured it out. Anyways, he's a YouTube creator apparently, and they did some EA Need for Speed Payback. Looks a lot like Need for Speed. I don't know. Like, it looks cool. It looks a lot like Need for Speed, not Underground, Most Wanted. It reminds me of Most Wanted from a few years ago. Looks cool. I don't know. We need to see more about it. They didn't really show that much about it, so I'm curious to see more of that game. Then they broke out A Way Out, which is this prison break co-op game where the whole game is co-op, and you're playing simultaneously side by side with somebody and you can't break out of that. It's not like Journey where you can like, well, at least from what we've seen so far, it's not hop in, hop out. It is a continuous experience. Developed by the people that did Brothers, I think it's called A Tale of Two Cities. No, Brothers something, A Tale of Two Family, maybe, I don't remember what it's called. Brothers. Same developer, got together with EA to put out this new game. It looks really cool, and I mean, co-op just kind of gets me going. I haven't had a great co-op experience in a long time, so looks really neat. They showed all these clips of like one player's actually going through like a cutscene on one side of the screen. All their couch co-op is totally available. The other side of the screen, you see he's like still playing and like moves around. You can see the cutscene from like a third-person perspective going on below him, but he can just like interact with the world. He doesn't have to pay attention at all if he wants. This looks really cool. Check it out. I'm sure there's already videos all over the place about it. So co-op, just super pumped. Brand new BioWare IP was sort of unveiled. Runs in the Frostbite engine, post-apocalyptic. There's a big wall. That kind of reminds me of like Evolved with some Halo thrown in, like a little Crisis action. There's like a mech suit. Anyways, full reveal. It's called Anthem. Is going to be happening during the Microsoft presentation. They said like Microsoft reveal happening, but it looks neat. Apparently, this is what not BioWare Montreal has been working on. They did BioWare Montreal did the latest Mass Effect, and the original team has been working on this. So curious to see how that looks. What's going on there? Then they jumped to NBA Live 18. Looks cool, but again, they brought in this like whole story mode thing where you kind of like build up your reputation through like this street league that you can do, and then the official NBA, and it looks really neat, but it kind of continues this whole idea where they're like trying to introduce some story back into games, which is interesting for those kind of games, because I don't remember any sports titles previously having a campaign. But I mean, it's a little different because it looks like you're more just kind of building up your reputation. I don't know if there's a story, but the way they kind of presented it was really interesting. Let me know what you thought about that. I don't know how story focused, but they kind of present it like you're driving this narrative. I don't know. We'll see. So then we got a little bit of Star Wars Battlefront 2. They opened it up with a tweet from John Boyega, the Finn actor, who last year, like famously, when Battlefront 1 came out, and then Battlefront 2 was like announced, Battlefront 1 came out 2 years ago. When they announced Battlefront 2, he tweeted at BioWare, not BioWare, at EA saying, is there going to be a story mode, an offline story mode, that we can play through in this next game? Like, he was really upset. He really missed the story mode. And he was kind of nice about it. I mean, he's like, in the Star Wars payment universe, like, he's got to be a little careful about what he says. I'm assuming. But he was very nice. He's like, look, I really enjoyed Battlefront 1, but I miss the story mode from the older Battlefronts. It was one of my favorite aspects. I would love to get that back. And obviously, being a high-profile actor in the Star Wars movies, they reacted, but they posted it, and they showed, like, the likes and the retweets, like, growing on his tweet. And they're like, it just kind of kept reiterating the vibe. And I think they actually physically said this a couple times, that, like, EA is listening. Like, we hear your complaints. And then, So this guy came out, I already forget his name, and he's like, look, we heard you, we get it, you guys really are missing some stuff. They brought out the actress of the main character of Battlefront 2, that we've seen a couple trailers of the, like, the Imperial storyline that we're going through, and the actress that plays that main person, the main Imperial, I don't know what she is yet, came out, and she was alright. She had a lot of charisma, but she was like a little too intense, like, yes. And then she kind of loosened up a little bit later. But from what I've seen so far, it does sound like EA, and I say this really hesitantly because, you know, we'll see, might actually have listened to a lot of complaints about Battlefront 1 2.0. Some of the stuff we've seen so far, they're bringing back the class system, very distinct classes with unique abilities and like weapons and just general loadouts and everything, which is very cool. Not that there wasn't like some sort of class system going on before, but this feels very distinct. Health changes between the classes, weapons, they, like I said, abilities. There are claims of people that were playing it. Again, they brought in like some YouTube content creators, some Twitch streamers and stuff that like got some access to it, I guess. I think that's what we were watching. Otherwise, it might have just been people, paid actors that they had to plan. And there were claims about like the guns feeling very different. Some felt a little like lighter, and then others felt more impactful. There were a lot of complaints about Battlefield, Star Wars Battlefront from 2 years ago. All the guns kind of felt pretty much the same, and I have to agree that like I never felt like I was really changing weapons very much. So if nothing else, whether they've solved that problem, they are acknowledging that it was a problem, and obviously they've introduced the story mode that we're gonna have. There were space battles that they kind of like hinted at. We didn't get to see. It spans across all 3 generations of Star Wars. The new movies, they had what's his name, Kylo Ren and Rey were like going at it, but then they had Darth Maul from like Episode 1. In Episode 1, they showed an Episode 1 map. It was the city of like Theed, I think they called it. I thought it was something. I thought it was Thebe, but I guess it's Theed. Looked like a cool map. All the what's it called, droids from Episode 1 and the tanks, all that content. It looked like a really cool map, and people were flying around doing stuff. It looked like fun. It looked cool. And we'll have to see about other complaints that people had in Battlefront, if they've kind of addressed a lot of that. But they were, and they were very open. It was very understanding that they're like, look, people have been very critical. And this is where they actually got me a little excited that they have actually listened a little bit to some stuff we've been complaining about. They have themed seasons kind of free of charge post-launch to kind of keep people playing free of charge, along with additional DLC content. They said all post-launch maps, all post-launch heroes, free, not DLC. They didn't indicate at all that there wouldn't be some form of DLC. So we'll see if there's still a paid DLC of some kind. But it sounds like the important stuff that people have complained about, the reasons they've loved the like Rainbow Six Siege model so much. They acknowledge that they don't want to split up the the community by introducing like paid map packs that people can't get into and stuff. So they want to keep everybody together and everybody playing, which is smart. It's a brilliant idea. And it's kind of like a next step forward for those things that they were doing for Battlefield 1, where they had map packs that you had to buy, but if any of your friends owned it, you could play with them anyway, which I think was a nice step in the right direction. I think this is where they need to be. They need to, if they're going to introduce new maps for an online multiplayer game, or a game that has online multiplayer, everybody needs to have access to those maps free of charge, because otherwise it kills the multiplayer. The multiplayer slowly dies. People just don't want to, not everybody wants to invest in it, and then it splinters the community and just introduces problems like that. So I think this is a great way to approach it, and it really does. I mean, whether they listened because not enough people were buying it, which I doubt it. I think they've been making a killing off those stupid map packs. Or they've just really understood feedback, and they're trying to get out of this hole of EA having the worst reputation as a publisher, which I still feel for a lot of the ways that they've approached a lot of their games. I mean, I still think all the sports games, the way they sell content in those is utterly absurd. With especially FIFA is just the worst with those cards for players, and that you hear these stories about kids getting a credit card and spending like $15,000. First of all, there's no game where you should be allowed or capable of spending $15,000. Anyways, I've already been talking for 13 minutes. I meant to keep this under 5. So this all happened. It wasn't very thrilling or exciting. Not too much was something I didn't expect. I loved the A Way Out game, the Prison Break, and I'm excited to see what more about the Anthem, the BioWare new IP. There wasn't really any reveal. They just said the reveal's coming, but I guess they like snuck it in because EA owns BioWare. So they really did say a bunch of times in the presentation, please, we've listened, just give us a chance to redeem ourselves. And you know what, EA, I'm willing to give you that shot. I'm not redeeming it yet, but a lot of things you're saying about Battlefront 2 do address all the complaints that people had from before, whether it be financial complaints or just complaints about it being a shallow game needing more depth and more complexity like the originals had with story modes and other things that we enjoy so much. So cool stuff. EA's never my most excited publisher conference ever, so I'm glad that they're kind of first. I could just throw this out. I plan to try and do these for each of the presentations. It's going to be tough because tomorrow they're like 4, so it's just going to be a busy day. But at least it's Sunday, so I'll be home. Monday there are a ton more, and I'll be at work all day. So we'll see what we can do. Let me know your thoughts on all these announcements. Honestly, nobody's like surprised that they made another FIFA or another NBA live. Still cool though. some neat and a little interesting. And there's like 30 minutes of Star Wars Battlefront 2 footage out there. If you guys want to go check it out, let me know in the comments what you thought about that. And what you're thinking of E3 so far. I didn't think E3 is officially kicked off. I think this is just like their presentation that they can just do. No, but it was in the conference hall. I don't know. I get very confused about the whole E3 schedule. Anyways, oh, I burned myself. I've got like 10 minutes to make it to dinner. I wanted to just get this out here real quick. Let me know what you thought. Can't wait to talk to you guys more about it. And I'll, I don't know. I guess I'll talk to you guys soon. I'll see you more for more E3 stuff. Peace. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, you should totally think about subscribing. I've got videos coming out twice a week, and if you like this one, there's at least a chance you'll like some of the others that are very similar to this, so live dangerously. Let me know what you guys thought about the video in the comments, and other videos you'd like to see. And finally, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Huntin for Games to keep up with all the latest stuff. See ya!